Hello and welcome back. This is the Clay Golem. Igla, first in the door already. Hello, mate. I hope you're all right. I hope you've had a good week. All right. I can't remember where we were, what we were doing. Yeah, I can, honestly. We were doing the Red Brand hideout, weren't we? And we'd almost finished. We had just a couple of rooms to do, which was mainly up here. We had done, if you remember, last week, don't want to lock that door, we put in the familiar Rufus the Rat, which is awesome. Just going to hide Rufus. I should have done that last week, just so that it's not completely obvious that he's there, just to give the DM a kind of a chance to, describe and do things like that before they potentially spot Rufus. Right, so Area 12. So this is where the magic happens, isn't it? This is kind of the culmination of this whole area. Let's bring the adventure over here. We went through the Wizard's Workshop. I just want to check items wise. It does talk about set up to brew, potions of invisibility. Okay, so set up to brew but has not succeeded so far, so we don't need to worry about that. Treasure, rare reagents, mercury, dragon bile, powdered nightshade, worth 25 gold each. I'm not going to bother creating items for those, I don't think. If they do choose to take them, I've run this a number of times and they've never ever taken the reagents, so I'm not going to bother making them just in the off chance. I can just chuck it on the character sheet, and I kind of said that before. I just kind of go to the character sheet and go add item, loot, name it something, give it a value, that's it, job done. If they're going to carry it for a while, then I'll go find an image for it, but for most general loot I don't bother, because you can't predict. We had the conversation last week about one of my players collecting all sorts of things, and I can't remember who it was who identified, when I was talking about them collecting the finger, I identified it was the finger under the cot in the death house, and they've been carrying it ever since. They are literally halfway through the Curse of Strahd campaign, and he's still got the finger. Alright, Glassstaff's quarters. So if they approach this from the secret passage, they can surprise. Don't really care about that for this purpose. A bit of a description. If he's surprised, add that on. If the rat warns him, again, he grabs his Staff of Defense. So we're going to make sure that our big bad evil guy has his that. Now, how are we pronouncing this, right? I always call him Lano, but it's actually an I and it's not an L. And it's always been an I and not an L. Is it Yano? Is that how that works? I'm not sure. I call him Lano. And that's how he's going to stay before people kind of go, you're saying it wrong. Yeah, I know I'm saying it wrong, but it's going to be much easier for me to remember. And players won't know. They won't care. All right, so he's an evil mage. So we need an evil mage. And then we're going to do stat block for him. So let's start off with that. So I'm going to want to find the... Oh, is it going to be in the monster manual? Under humans. We had this before, didn't we? And you guys helped me find stuff. Because there was different ways to do... Oh, it was animals, wasn't it? When I was after the rat and I didn't realise they were under animals because I'm an idiot. There we go. Never mind. Remember, I do these things so you don't have to, right? Learn from my stupidity. Where am I going to find... Because we haven't got humans... See, I should have checked this before I started so I knew where I was going, but I haven't because, Oh, there is actually mages. There we go. Just got to kind of take a bit of a guess sometimes. Right, monsters. It's just got mage, apprentice, mage. Alright, so mage, apprentice. What CR are they? CR2. Hey, 4x2. Or 4x2 Lee. Good evening, welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. I do appreciate it. It's nice to have some regulars. It's Lost Minds of Phandelver stat block. Yeah, it is in the module. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to nick Mage Apprentice just so I've got something built. And then we can use the stat block from there. I don't think it's, well, as you say. So it's got Evil Mage there. Let's click on it and open it in the new tab for us. Yeah, so this is just in monsters. It's just in monsters in D&D Beyond rather than specific to the module, I think. But that's fine. Let's use it. So I'm going to have that in the other page because otherwise, I can't do two things at once on the screen very easily. So first of all, let's change his name. Okay. Again, I call him Lano. Not that I can type. What's his bloody last name? They just call him Lano in a lot of... I'll come back and do that. Just what a great start. Dear. Right, medium humanoid, that's all good. Armor class of 12. So what's he currently rocking? Kind of rocking 15 at the moment. So let's configure that to be, yeah, equipped armor. You're going to give him his dexterity. So let's change his stats to what they are in the book. So we got not a 98, a 9, 14, 11, a 17, a 12, and an 11 in there. That's fine. Yeah, equipped armor plus his attributes. What armor has this dude apparently got? Oh, is it mage armor? I wonder if it's counting mage armor already. Because it shouldn't be. Because he hasn't got that on him, has he? Has it pulled in with mage armor on him? It has. Okay, I'm a bit happy with that then. So 15 makes sense. Yeah, we'll go with that. That's fine. All right. So in the book, they've given him armor class 12, of course, before he's cast anything at all. So fine, whatever. Yeah, it becomes 13 plus the dex modifier. Yeah, so that is correct. Yeah, fine. Movement speed of 30, yeah, that's all good. 22 hit points, so this one's massively overpowered compared to our friend Lano. Now, 22 hit points, that's really low, isn't it? And this is the kind of thing that when you know your party and what kind of damage it can pump out, you sort of look at that and you go, Albrecht, Jason, you're a genius. Yes. Let's do it. Thank you. I mean, how do I live without you guys? I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, 22 hit points is really, really low. But this is kind of where you know what your party is going to be like. Now, bearing in mind they could be doing this still at, you know, only just into second level. I mean, 22 hit points is still a lot more than they've got. But it does seem low. I think I would probably double that because this is supposed to be a bit of a confrontation. But anyway, let's move on for now. Skills-wise, it wants Arcana and History. It's already got Arcana, so we can slap History on there as well. There we go. Not that they're likely to need it. Languages, Common. Yeah, so they don't have those on. So Common. Draconic, Dwarfish, and Elvish, all the classics there. Brilliant. And they've made him a challenge rating of 1. Yeah, not so sure about that, but let's stick with it for now. Now, when it comes to spell casting, so this always throws me the way that it does this, because this has just got additional spells and they're all just thrown in here, and it doesn't give you their spell slots when you do it like this, which I find very annoying. Is he a 5th level caster? I think he's a 5th level caster. I'm just looking at the spells that they've given him, and you know he's got. Oh no, yeah, no, not that. Ugh. 2nd level spells. Yeah, so he's got 2nd level spells, so we kind of really need to make sure that we give him that. All right, so let's. I'm not reading the chat at the moment, by the way, because I've got my screen's full, but I'll come back to that in a second. I want the, let's go to PHB, let's bring out the spells, let's just chuck his spells in correctly. Let's start with his cantrips. They reckon we've got light, brilliant, and that's what I want. I want it to go into the correct place. It's much, much easier as a DM to remember what level spells are if they're actually put where they're supposed to be. Slap our Shocking Grasp in there, good. Level 1, what's he got? He's got Charm Person and Magic Missile. That's it. No, not Burning Hands. I mean, we can do whatever we like. We're the DM, we're in charge. But trying to build based on this. And Magic Missile, as long as they got something offensive like that, that's good. That's all they've given him for... yeah, it's got 4 slots, but only 2 spells. So he's just going to be spamming Magic Missile. Hold Person and Misty Step. So Hold Person obviously is quite useful, and Misty Step is useful too. I'm going to get rid of all of these ones that aren't relevant to what we're doing. Where's my delete? Oh, how interesting. Where's my delete? What's going on? What don't I know? Again, I haven't been using version 13 that much. I do need to drop his spell level down. I think it's to level 3 to give him the appropriate spell slots. Yeah, that's better. That's better appropriate spell slots for him. Normally you do this and you go delete. So why are these coming in from somewhere else that aren't allowing me to delete it? What am I doing? What am I doing? Enable, yeah, with enable edit on, normally there's a delete in there, and there isn't, which is really, really bizarre. Display in chat, view, expand, you know. How strange. Where is that gone? And if I've pulled it in from the DMG, which is a bit weird. So I don't know why that is allowing, or rather not allowing us just to delete it, which is strange. Yeah, view item, display in chat, collapse. I'll collapse it because I don't want it open. I'll sort that out. We don't need to spend ages doing that, and I'll try and remember in the next one, unless I have a brain wave, to explain how I did that. But I wasn't expecting that to be an issue, to be honest. That's a bit weird. But again, it's version 13. I'm not that experienced with version 13. This is the first time I've really built into the version 13, which is part of the reason for doing it, really. We all learn together, don't we? Mostly from my mistakes. Okie dokie, what else do we need to give him? We need, right, he's got this quarterstaff, and I'm refused to give him, like the module says, a basic quarterstaff, because he hasn't. He's got the staff. He's not going to have two staves. He's going to have one and one. You know, that just the one that he uses. So before I do that, I want to update his portrait. So let's click on that. We go into, we don't want to be in the monster manual. We want to come into Phandelver, of course. And I want to go into my tokens. And I want to find him. That's not the right one. I want to come into here. There we go. So there's my picture of Lano that I decided to use for this. Just make sure that's changed. It hasn't changed both of them because I brought this in. So let's make sure we change that. There's nothing more annoying than slapping a token down and it's got the old blinking icon for it. Oh, I didn't want to do that. What am I doing? It's because I'm talking to you. Go into the packs, go into Phandelver, into my tokens. He's already in here, you ninny. There we go. All right, so now his token and his portrait are the same. So for those of you, again, because this is aimed at the people new to it, and you can see that obviously I'm still quite new to it because I haven't got those things sorted. What you'll find is that there's, if you update something like a token image, you've also got the portrait of the character, and they use separate images, which is great because you can use separate images, but it won't necessarily update both of them at the same time. So you do need to, if you want to do what I just did, is do it twice. Do it for the portrait and then do it for the token, so you get your correct thing for that. Okie dokie. Right. Treasure Arcana Individual. That's, yeah, don't we need to worry about that. What we do need to weapons, Arcane Burst. I'm going to get rid of that because that's irrelevant. We don't need that, but we do need to give him this staff, don't we? So it is a Staff of Defense is the base item for it. So let's find a Staff of Defense, which is going to be in the DMG equipment, or is that in equipment when it comes to these things? Excellent. There's no such thing as Staff of Defense anymore in the 2024 rules. But that's okay. We can make it. We can do our own thing, can't we? All right. So this is what I mean when I do loot and stuff, is you can just, at the bottom right hand corner, you can click that plus button, and then you can choose to create from scratch any item, tool, loot, equipment, container, consumable that you want to do. And now I'm on the inventory tab, so I'm limited to what I can do. If I do it on the spells tab, it's going to create a new spell. So just so you're aware. I've created that new spell, which I want to delete. There, I can delete that. This is going to annoy me. I will work it out. All right, so let's create this staff then. We're going to go weapon. Brilliant. And of course, this is going to be the glass staff. Okay, so that's what it's going to be. Now, we could obviously grab a description and everything else from the module for it. I might not spend too much time doing that. But what I do want to do, of course, is just look up the stats for the item itself. I'm going to change the image once again. I'm going to. That's interesting. I can't remember where I put the items. Doesn't matter. I'm going to stick it in here, and I've got a image for that as well, which we can select and bring in. So we've got now an image for our staff, which is much nicer than just having a default one. So lovely jubbly. I don't know how much it's worth, because they don't tend to. It will be somewhere in the DMG under the original the 2014 rules. It's going to be one of those evenings, guys, I'm afraid. All right, so it weighs £3 apparently. We can definitely do that if I'm not an idiot and accidentally click behind it. So we've got £3, one of these. While holding the staff, you have a +1 armor class. So I'm going to copy directly from the module for this, or rather from D&D Beyond, and I'm going to tap a lot in there. Now, because I'm copying from a website, it brings in the formatting and everything else like this in the description, which is ugly as, especially if you've got dark theme on, which I have, which is why it's black and it's highlighted it white. You can come in, and if you see this T with a line through it, clear formatting, it will just get rid of all of that nonsense, and then you've got just your normal writing on there, which is much nicer. Now, sometimes you might want to do this and just space it out a bit. All right, so while holding it, you get a +1 armor class bonus. Staff has 10 charges, which are used to fuel the spells within. And then this talks about what's in the staff. So mage armor or shield, 2 charges. Okay, brilliant. So that's all good. Staff of defense +1 AC, 10 charges, 2 for mage armor, 1 for shield. Igla's on it already. He's way ahead of me, which is awesome. Thank you very much. Right, so it is going to be a simple item. It is magical, which is good. So attunement is required, and it's magic, so I'm going to give it a +1 bonus for attacking and everything else anyway, which is awesome. Now, we don't have all of these mods and things to fully automate this as an item, which is annoying but also accurate, right? Now, staff is 1d6 one-handed, 1d8 two-handed, is that right? God, why don't I know this stuff off the top of my head after all of these years? Which reminds me, we need to add that it's versatile as well. So the versatile damage is the 1d8. It's getting a bit squishy down the bottom here. Yeah, so that's going to be 1d8 bludgeoning, which is fine. Now, we do need to add the activity on. It's already defaulted to give us the attack, which is fine. We don't need to change that. So it is a melee type of attack, and it's going to give us a classification. For the activation for the attack is 1 action. Yeah, normal attack, which is fine. It doesn't consume any resources to make a normal attack. And we don't need to worry about this. It's just a normal melee weapon, so that's really easy, and it has no additional effects to it, which is fine. Okay, so that's just going to be bludgeoning, but it's going to come from the base damage. That's not a problem. So the attack is fine, but we can cast spells from it. So what we need to do is at the bottom here, we need to note the charges for it. Okay, now what was its total charges? It says it starts with, or it has 10 charges. That was it. So down here, usage at the bottom, limited uses, maximum of 10 uses, and it's got recovery here as well. Now, it doesn't say that it recovers at all, but there are options on here, such as it recovers when you have a long rest, at the start of a turn, etc, etc, etc. But we're not going to use recovery for this. So we've got 10 charges in it. Right, so we've got 2 other activities we can do with this. One of them is casting mage armor. So let's add an activity, and this is a casting activity. Create that activity, and I find it easiest to go straight to spell. Let's go to spell first, and we're going to drop in the spell that it's going to cast. So we need to find mage armor again. Once back to the player's handbook, go to the spells. Let's find that mage armor. It'll be under M, won't it, you idiot? And we can just drag that across. Bam, mage armor. It's now saying about, right, this is a spell casting ability. What level is it at? We are going to, because it's a staff, do we need to, we're going to remove, oh, it's normally got those. We're going to remove the material component because the staff effectively is replacing that, right? +1, is it 1d6 +4 at dawn recharge? Igla, where did you find that? Because it doesn't say that in the module. Or are you actually looking up the real thing from 2014 rules? I mean, I'm happy to go with whatever. It doesn't make sense for somebody to put all the time, effort, and money into making a staff which just burns out. Or is that standard? I don't know. I don't know. It's too much, isn't it? This is one of the drawbacks of D&D, and people do say this, is there is too much to know and learn. That's my excuse. I'm sticking with it. All right, so that's the spell. We just drop that in there, nice and easy. Check any of those if we want to. Activation, again, so it is a full action for it, no problem. Consumption, we do want consumption on this. So we're going to say, yes, it does consume, and we can pick from this. We can pick item uses. This item, 10 charges. So it's going to use 1 of those 10 charges from this item. Okay, so if we use this and we give usage for the spell, that's talking about how many times you can do the spell and use those charges. But we've got different spells that can use the charges, so the charges go on the staff, not on the spell. Okay, time. So action, consumption, we've got that, that's fine. Targeting, yeah, that's good. And we'll run through some of these items and actually use them in anger at some point just to check all of that's good. So now when we try to use this item, we can choose whether it's attack or whether it's mage armor. Let me go through, and I've got no reason to doubt you whatsoever, Igla. So we're going to go with what you have suggested here. So it's a dawn recharge, which makes complete sense. And it's going to be a custom formula. And that formula is going to be 1d6 +4. Okay, so if you're lucky, it will fully recharge each day. So can you see what we've done there? The period, so when does it recharge? We've chosen a custom formula. We can put in 1d6 +4 there. Job done, sorted, lovely. Now the other activity, of course, is we can also cast shield. So we want to do same as before. We're going to do add a cast. I'd like to go to the spell first. I'm going to take shield and I'm just going to drag it in there, and you can see that update straight away. And again, I'm going to remove the material component for it because the staff is effectively replacing that. I don't know if that's actually the way it's supposed to work. I don't care. My game, my rules. It doesn't make sense, does it? You know, to do it otherwise. So once again, we can go back to activation here. Cost is the same. Now consumption for this, we want to do the same. So consumption is for the item, but this uses 2 charges. Okay, so we can effectively use shield 5 times and then it's completely drained. And thanks to Igla's comment there, that it will then refresh that 1d6 +4 each dawn. Cool. So that is done. Still got his hit points up. His glass staff is in here. Now it makes sense to make sure in our items that we have that item in here as well, so we don't lose it. Just make sure it's in the right folder. So we've always got it, because the chances are once he's dead the players are going to nick it. and it's just easy to have it in the items that they can have. I didn't find the gem eye patched image. I knew there was something I was going to do, didn't do that. Okay, so how does that work then? Let's get rid of that. Let's go over to our chat thing. So when we click on glass staff, there we go, it asks us what we want to do. Now what we didn't do was update the names of these two. They're both just called casts, so it makes no sense. So we do need to edit that. This top one, I've lost, where's it gone? Edit. Does not want me to edit it. Do you know what? It's doing some weird stuff, isn't it? Why don't you want me to edit it? Activities. Edit the activities. How bizarre. The things it's not allowing me to edit, which you normally can edit, which is really strange. I'm just going to quickly check to make sure my server's not giving me any bugs or anything. No, it's not. How bizarre. That is really weird. I'm well confused. Might have to come back and sort that out another time, because I don't want to spend the whole of this. But, you know, these little weird things you run into. Edit this. Maybe drag the spell in there. Well, yeah, I mean, you can drag the spell directly in there. I'm fairly sure you can in this version of it. But the fact that I can't edit what I've already created is a bit weird. Let's just to prove the point of what you're saying on there, by the way. Where was it? Mage armor, wasn't it? So if we judge mage armor straight on there, it will add it directly. Yeah, so which is much quicker. So I can still see the spell, I can still get rid of that, I can still go to the activation. Consumption, I want to add that back on. But it's really weird that it's not letting me edit that. So we've got that on there. So, oh yeah, but it's just updated it now. Refresh the page or check the console. Yeah, no, that was a bit weird. It's on there now. I think it just had pooed its pants. So yeah, you're right, Luca. Not sure why. I've never had it do that before, but it got stuck. So there we go. Be persistent if you're new to using Foundry. That's really unusual. I've not encountered that before myself. So it might just be a little glitchy thing with version 13 or the D&D engine just getting a bit of a conflict, but clearly it does work. And I'm not sure if that's what was going on with these, but it doesn't even give me that option to delete those. But again, you have to have edit on to start with. But yeah, that is a bit weird that I can't do those. I will sort that. And it might be to do with... Is it... that's why. Because they're coming from this item. And this is something that has changed. There we go, found it. Because they've given him spell casting. And it comes with the default of those are the spells that he's got, whether you like it or not. If I delete that, I've used NPC spell casting and given him a level. It's got rid of those. There we go. We solved it. We solved it. It's just a different way that the 2014 rules work in version 13. Again, it's just kind of getting used to those. But thanks for the help, all of you. All right, we've created Lano. It's taking flipping ages, but we've got Lano. Let's chuck him out here. And you can see he's already got mage armor on. Now, it's up to you to decide whether he walks around with mage armor all the time. This guy's not an idiot. He's slowly taking over the town. It would be unreasonable, I think, to say that this mage, who knows that he can cast mage armor and it will last all day, wouldn't have it on every single day. And if you think about your player characters, they wake up in the morning, they have a quick stretch, they cast mage armor, then they go and have a poo and have their breakfast and everything else. But it tends to be right at the beginning of the day, get that thing on. Why would you not? So we're going to stick Lano out there, which is all good. Gosh, we got well distracted from what we were doing. But we have created Lano, we've created his thing. So what else have we got in here? It does talk about if characters catch up to him, he quaffs a potion of invisibility. So that straight away tells us that he's walking around with a potion of invisibility on him. So I need to go back here. We haven't finished with you, Lano. Not yet, sir. And we want to find that potion of invisibility. I've got too many things expanded now. So into here, potions are not going to be in there because it's going to be magic items. Oh, magic item lists. P for potion. Potion of invisibility. There we go. It's a potion of invisibility, and we can just drag that. Oh, I've dumped it in the wrong one, but anyway you drag it, it's going to sit in there. There we go. He's got an potion of invisibility on him. Now let's just check to see if there was anything else. Staff of Defense we've done, although obviously we've given it the other name. Potion of Invisibility, threatened Staff Defense. Yeah, he uses his Staff Defense to cast Major armor on himself. He's not an idiot. He would have done that this morning. Uses Shield, if questioned, developments. There's a note there which you can obviously read out to the players. Right, so in his foot of his bed is locked wooden chest. It's got some money in. We talked about not bothering to do that, to put money on, because we're not using those kind of things. We just add it on as and when they find it. We've got some carnelians, 2 peridots, a pearl, and 2 magic items. So we've got a scroll of charmed person and a scroll of fireball. Let's go to our items. Do you remember us making scrolls? So how we do that is get rid of that, get rid of that. Trying to keep my workplace a little bit tidy, especially as I've got it zoomed in. It makes it a bit cluttered otherwise. We want to go to spells. We want to go to Fireball's 3rd level, unless I've made a huge mistake. Okay, so if we go to our items and we drag Fireball over here, we can right click and we can go create scroll. It's now going to ask us in the middle here, just, are you sure you want to create scroll? Yeah, I'm going to create scroll. Alright, so we've got that. I can get rid of Fireball out of here now. I don't actually want Fireball sitting in there. I wanted the scroll. And I've forgotten what the other one was already. Scroll of Charmed Person. So, again, we can go all the way back up to Charmed Person. 2nd level? 3rd level. Oh, this could make you feel nauseous by scrolling around here. Charm person, 1st level. Yeah, idiot. Oh dear. I keep asking my players to roll sense motive. So for those of you who are old like me, you will remember sense motive actually being one of the skill checks. It hasn't been in. I can't remember if that's from 2nd edition. I think it's from 2nd edition D&D, and I keep asking them to bloody roll it, and my newer players just kind of go, what? You want me to do what? And it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. There we go. So we've got our scroll of charmed person. Now it does say about, get rid of Lano, it does say about that being in the box at the foot of his bed. Okay, so if they search they can find that. And then there's experience points, and that's kind of it. We're kind of done. I could create the gems as well, carnelians and things. What's the chances we've got those in the DMG as treasures? Because again, the DMG is different from it used to be. We've got more stuff in there. Treasure, themed treasures, trade goods, gemstones. What do they say it was? Right, so 10 gold each. I reckon carnelians haven't got that. But again, we can just swap them out because the players don't know. So we can say, look, you know, these are 10 gold each. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Where was I? Up here. Oh, that's not going... Okay. So, how do I drag these ones in? See, gemstones. Well, I'm looking at that. Oh, I see. it's just going to be a generic gemstones. Right. There we go. Let's just do that. 2 peridots worth 15 gold each. Well, we haven't got that. And a pearl worth 100, so we can do that. So, of course, we can rename these and just change them. But for most players, that's enough. They don't care what it is. They just kind of like, how much is it worth? So if we drop those in there, we've got them. I probably will update those later on. There it is. There it is. There's the table. So actually, we've got specifics for this now. And we got a pearl. Yeah, we have got a pearl. Oh, I see. It's on a roll table. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, so you can roll what magical type, or, you know, what, randomly what type it is. Magical. What is wrong with me? Right. Should we move on? After that garbage. A couple of other things I wanted to do. I talked about these people here, the people to be rescued. And I said, oh, yeah, we need to create some images for those NPCs. So, and also, I haven't got hover for their names on here, which drives me slightly nuts when I do that. So I've got, so we've got Myrna down here. I've already put a new image in for Myrna, which I think is much nicer. But what I do want to do is make sure I've got hovered by owner for it. So as the DM, yeah, it says commoner. I need to update it, of course. Then it reminds me. You know I can't do two things at once. Hang on. It just reminds me what their name is. There's nothing worse than they're going, oh, so what was your name? And you, as a DM, you're kind of going, oh, hang on a minute. Let me go work out what their name was because you've forgotten. We've got Nars here, so we can do the same. So if I take Nars and actually, rather than updating the token, the better way to do it is to update the prototype token. So every time we drop him out, it will be correct. And we want to get a new picture for him as well. So we're going to go into our Phandelver pack. We're going to go to our tokens and I'm going to upload. What was I doing? I was doing Nars. So I've got a little thing of Nars there. And just like I said before, remember that I've updated the portrait. But if I go to the token, it's not finding the token that I wanted because I've only updated one of the images. I'm going to get rid of that Lano. So I can come back into here, alphabetical order. There's Nars, add him on. So now his portrait and his token are both correct, or at least back how I wanted them to be. So this is him up here. I can drag him out. Now his portrait doesn't fit his square. So there's a couple of things you can do about that if you care. First of all, I am going to change to say his display name is hovered by owner. But under appearance, we can change things like the dimensions of it and things like that. But this image fit mode, currently it's contained. So it won't alter the image. It will just make it fit the best it kind of can without changing the image, stretching it or anything like that. If we go full width, it will bleed because the image isn't the right size. It's not the right dimensions. It will bleed over the top and the bottom to make it fit the width. Full height again, so it will be too narrow for that. You can do you can do fill, which stretches it whichever direction it needs to fill it. Now sometimes of course that's going to really mess up the image. I don't think that's a big problem in this case. I think that's fine. We're going to go with that. Oh right, so we now need to do a Nilsa. Same thing. I'm just going to copy Nilsa here. I'm going to go to prototype token, update that from commoner, but from here I'm going to go hover by owner, and I am going to just change that to fill straight away. Now I'm going to update her actual token because I've got one for this as well. I do just find some of the basic tokens, especially NPCs, you want them to have a conversation with. Just some of the default tokens just don't help them stand out. You can't tell that they're different people. So doing this and giving them an image, yeah, of course it takes more time. You've got to find images or make images, whatever it is. But I do think it adds quite a lot for the player experience to be able to do that and just know what they're doing. So here's Nilsa. Job done. And then when we drop Nilsa out, we just check to make sure that she fits reasonably well. Yeah. And all of these images I generated using Midjourney. And I asked for the, for the pictures. I gave them the right kind of age, and I asked them to be against a stone wall, which kind of fits with the theme of where they're being kept at the moment. All right, so was there anything else I needed to do? I want to do a sanity check of this, and this is a really good thing to do before we move off the scene. Nivik, totally butchering people's names. Good evening. Hope you're all right. A good afternoon, obviously, for you. I think that gives us a pretty good idea where you where in the world you are, considering I'm in the UK and it is evening. Right, sanity check. Quick check. Have I botched any walls? Secret doors there in place. Secret door locked. That one's not locked. Secret door down here. It's good to go over and do that. Lighting though. So I've got, apart from this one, I had all the lights switched on each room. Are these guys, these humans in here, going to have the light on in this room? The answer is going to be yes, isn't it? Or otherwise, unless they're actually asleep. So that's going to be on. Are they going to have both of these lights on here? I would suggest probably not. They might leave one on. But remember, oil costs money. You don't just throw it away and just burn all the time. In fact, actually, you could argue that they'd have that one on, because they're going to use this secret door. They are not going to be going across the pit trap all the time, so we can do that. The undead don't need the light on. These guys do need the light on. This light is not going to be on. Unless somebody's up here, they're not going to have it switched on. In this room, we've got loads of people in here. Bugbears have dark vision. Goblins have dark vision. Why would they have the light on? They wouldn't. They don't need it. It just wouldn't even occur to them. These guys who are playing cards and drinking and everything else, yep, they're going to have the light on. And there's a good chance that Lano's going to have the light on in his study and in his lab as well. Keep going. From Brazil, sir. It's 3:40 a.m. What are you doing awake? Oh dear. Oil costs money, but oil also burns enemies very good. Yes, it does, absolutely. But you don't just burn it away all the time, Igla, do you? It's like leaving the lights on. You try to save the pennies where you can. Gosh, 3:40 a.m. Blimey. Right. And I was wrong. I guess completely wrong where you were, Nivik. But well done for joining us. So what are we doing? So this is just like a series really, really basic with no mods, building in version 13 D&D, and we're building Phandelver Lost Mines, and this is really aimed a PM. That makes more sense. I was wondering, I thought I'd gone insane because I'm thinking, hang on a minute, if you're that direction, it should be the afternoon for you rather than the evening, and then you. I didn't want to accuse you of being wrong. You know where you are. Makes a lot more sense. Yeah, so we're just building Phandelver without any mods or anything else like that. And this is aimed at people who are very new to Foundry. Perhaps it's the first time they've ever kind of built an adventure, tried to build maps and stuff. So it's quite basic stuff, which is useful because I'm an idiot. Right. Are we happy with this? Are we happy with this scene? I haven't changed my cushioning in this scene, which I am going to do. Of course, we can do it through the scenes menu, but again, if you didn't know, you can just right-click up the top here and go to configure, and you can get to these options here. So I'm going to change that back to black, which makes a lot more sense if I want to. Now, we also talked last time about you could put notes and stuff in that padding if you want to make that a lot more, easy for you to run your adventure and things. I don't need to. I've got the module right there. That's kind of what it's for, which is, yeah, all cool and everything. Wow, this has been a really slow one today. We haven't got anywhere near as far as I was sort of expecting because I've been gabbling and falling over creating. So you notice the kind of creating items, creating spells and things, that takes more time than doing the maps. Right, what are we doing after Red Brand Hideout? What is the next chapter we want to tackle? I think we jump straight to doing... I do want to do some more maps for the towns and things, like for the inside the town, for the shops and stuff. I haven't done it, but I need to do it. Let's do Cragmore Castle. Yeah, we like Cragmore Castle. Let's jump straight to the big boy. So this is part of a new scene, so a new part. So we're going to create a folder because this is how I like to try and stay organised, and you can see what a challenge it is for me. The spider's web. So that is the folder we're going to put these scenes into. And I'll tell you what we haven't done before we jump into this map. If you remember, right back in the very first one, I said we were going to create our own adventure pack for this. Things like my players better be in trouble. I mean, hopefully they survive, but yeah, they better be in trouble, or otherwise it's no fun, is it? If it's a cakewalk. So what was I going to say? Yeah, because I want to package this. I've run this several times, and I'm probably going to run it again. I don't want to have to go back and reset it, so I'm creating it as an adventure. So I will need to obviously package this properly at some point. First of all, I need to unlock it. So right click, you can lock and unlock these things. And within here, because I created this as an adventure, this is how I'm going to package it. Phandelver. I can put an image in there. I mean, I can select anything I want for the moment for this. Let's just pick Gundren just for the sake of it. We can give it a caption. We can give it a description of the adventure and all that if we want to. But it's this bit here, this contents bit, where what we do is we just drag in the whole thing if we want to, or the individual folders. We can do that for our actors as well. We drop in our monsters, our NPCs. I can drop in my player characters. Again, I want all those default runs ready to go. Lano should be in NPCs. So there we go. It's added Lano in there now. All of those items, the goblin arrows and the Phandelver stuff, that's added those in. Look, my gemstones and things are not in the right folder. Just drop those into the right folder there. Drag that across again. So can you see, I know it's a bit small, but it says part 1 goblin arrows. It's got the jade frog and the healing potion. Part 2 with all of those items. Under scenes, it's got my different folders and things. And I click build adventure. And that's just packaging it all together. I now have an adventure called Phandelver with my icon that I chose. And clicking on that, it's now got 34 actors, 15 items, 5 scenes, 7 folders. I can import that into any other game I've got, you know, create another game, import that, and it's going to give me everything here ready to go. All these scenes are built, ready, which is really, really nice. If you want to reuse scenes and things like that, it's really going to save you a lot of time resetting stuff. You know, and it means also when you're playing and you're kind of going, oh no, they're doing this, and you can just do whatever you need to do and not worry about, oh, I've got to reset this stuff, or I've deleted tokens, I'll have to find them again later. You don't need to. Worst case, you just re-import. Oh, drag and drop is so helpful. Yeah, a handful. Yeah, you were trying to duplicate the D&D 5 compendium to make my edits without losing the oh, I see, without losing translation. Yeah, drag and drop is your absolute friend, especially that. I'm really, really fortunate that I don't have the additional challenges. I'm challenged enough of having to try and do stuff with translation mods as well for some of the material. So yeah, I'm just not that bright. Let's be honest. By the way, that I can use journal entries and drag them in there, roll tables, macros, anything like that I can add to that adventure module, which is why I created that. If you want to know how I created that adventure module, make sure you go and go and watch the first one in this series. The playlist is called live stream, so you can go and see it in that playlist. All right, I've tried to avoid moving on as much as I could. So this is going to be Cragmore Castle. Lovely jubbly. Now, we've done many scenes before, so I'm not going to spend ages on it. Players know it's called Cragmore Castle when they get there. We're going to select a background image, not in tokens. I'm going to save that in my scenes, and I'm of course going to find it. For those of you who've been watching, you know that I've got all my stuff ready to go. So the idea being is you don't have to watch me muppet around too much. Now what I've got here, and I know that's really tiny, is I've not renamed this. So my Cragmore Castle map has still got the, and again, this is Forgotten Adventures stuff. I'm not stealing anything. I'm allowed to use this. I'm just not allowed to share it with you. I tend to rename it just to make it simpler. So there we go, Cragmore Castle, select file, and that is going to bring that in for us. I'm going to set that black background straight away. I'm also going to go to my grid, and for those of you who've been around for a while, you know I make my grid red to make it much easier for you to see on screen, as well as for myself. Okay, save changes, that's going to create that, and over on the right I now have my Cragmore Castle. Let's have a look at it. Ooh, there it is. Okay, now we've got lots of additional tiles we can add to this one, just like before, but very first job is, does the scale make sense? Now it's perfectly lined up. Yeah, perfectly lined up, which is great. But look at these doors. These doors are all 10 foot wide. Now that might be appropriate in some instances, but it's not really, is it? So we do need to change that. So instead of it being that, we want to be 200 pixels. Save changes. There we go. That's now 5 foot wide. So each of these red squares is 5 foot by 5 foot. Guess what it's time for? It's wall time. And I know that's actually the only reason why you come to watch these live streams, is to watch me botch up making walls live. I have a bit of a reputation, yeah. Now, again, so when we look at where this grid is, yes, okay, that is a complete grid, but look where the grid will take this wall. So when a player's standing here, they can't see the art. You're here for the walls. Yeah, of course you are. They can't see the artwork because they can't see through that wall. So what I prefer to do is move that in. So if they're standing on this, they can see half of that brickwork. That makes so much more sense, that they can actually see some of it. You know, they can't move over it, but they can actually, at least they can see something. So I'm going to draw that up here to there, and that's going to make sense from that point of view. So anywhere around there, they can see the rubble, etc. for it. Okay, so if you wonder why I'm doing my walls off center like that, see, here's another example. Is standing here, you can't see the actual graphics for the wall, so I'm going to pull it through like that. I'm going to pull this one because it's because the actual line vertically is right in the center where I want it. That's perfect. But again, this one, it's not, so I'm going to drag it there. So just remember what it's going to look like for your players, and you know, and depending on your map, don't stick to the grid. It's awesome to watch you playing in Foundry. Yeah. You have to step out. Yeah, not surprised, man. No problem. I mean, these are recorded, so you can always watch it afterwards, but obviously you don't get the fun of joining in. But thank you for coming along. Really appreciate it. All right, so I'm just going to do that and that. So again, when they're standing in this room, they can see this wall. They can see the graphics and things. You've been playing D&D for 5 years and switched to no grid after like 3 years. Yeah, I use it only for making walls. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I use maps that don't have the grid showing, and I hide the grid from the players, so they play on a grid, but they can't see the grid, which I find works well. But my player tokens, I tend to use square ones, so it makes more sense for them that they can see that there is a grid without actually getting it disturbed by not having to stare at that grid. All right, let's crack on. All right, so let's draw that down. I mean, they can't actually pass through that rubble, so I am going to take that all the way down because they can't pass by it. Let's stick that in there. And this is just a case of doing this. And again, just bearing in mind that you want the players to be able to see all of the beautiful artwork that Forgotten Adventures have spent all this time producing for us. We don't want to just hide it away. Sorry, didn't mean to skip quite so fast. It does move. Stop it. It does move pretty quick, I was about to say. And then that happened. And we can just come through the middle of all of this rubble. That's absolutely fine. and up to these arrow slits. So arrow slits, what are we going to do with arrow slits? Are we in fact going to make them like windows, or do we just leave them completely open? I tend to use windows for arrow slits, and the reason why is because you've got the proximity stuff. How close to an arrow slit do you have to be to actually see through the arrow slit? Now, I live in the UK, and I've spent a lot of time in places like Wales and stuff. Castles galore, beautiful, beautiful castles that we have access to over here, like real ones. So I've actually been and looked into and through arrow slits, so I've got a pretty good idea how that actually would look. So I use windows, because yeah, you can't see bugger all through an arrow slit if you're too close to it. You just can't, which is entirely the point, of course. So I'm just doing it like this. I mean, do whatever works for you. You don't have to, you know, bearing in mind this is just kind of, you know, I'm not telling anybody how to do any of this. I'm just showing you how I do some of it, so you've got an idea of how you might want to do it, tricks and tips and stuff. I've taken that one a bit too far out because I want to make sure they can see those pretty pictures. And I think also by doing them with this kind of V shape, it kind of drives home the fact that this is an arrow slit. And when combined with the window vision, it makes a lot more sense. So I've been talking about it, but I haven't actually done it. I'm going to change this one. Bring that back there. That's better. All right, so let's take this arrow slit here. You know, if you're standing inside, you're going to be able to see pretty well out there, but in a thin beam. If you're standing outside, you have to get right up to it to see anything useful. That's just the way they work, which of course is, you know, it's a defensive structure. So let's take a window, and we're going to stick that window there. So we can see through that, but we've got proximity on it. How does that work? Let's shove Lano out there and then take one of our random player characters. We'll take the Dwarf Barbarian. And I haven't done the lighting for this scene, so that's a good point, isn't it? So I put the grid on. I didn't do lighting. I want global illumination. Thank you very much. And I don't want token vision on, so we need that. All right, so notice he cannot see through that arrow slit. If I move over here, still can't see. I'm too far away. But as I get closer, I can now see through that arrow slit in that kind of that wedge format. Now I can't get any closer to it, but when we look at the actual scene, it's about guarding this entryway and shooting arrows. It depends how high the arrow slits are. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, yeah, normally they are quite high up, but you absolutely, I mean, in this case, you know, they're actually on the ground floor. And you certainly do get that for, you know, ground floor arrow slits. The idea being the arrow slit is way too small for anybody to be able to get in through that gap. So you do have them on the ground floor, but you're right. A lot of the time they are up higher because obviously high elevation makes it harder for people to attack you back or throw stuff through the gap or anything like that at all. But yeah, you certainly do get them like this, and on this map they are there. So we can't actually see Lano at all. But if Lano hasn't got token vision on because it's an NPC. If I move Lano there, we can see him as he moves around. So that's how I do arrow slits for this. And again, Foundry isn't very good at doing multiple level stuff. We know Ripper's Levels tries to compensate for that and does a bloody good job considering it's not core Foundry stuff. But Foundry doesn't work very well like that. It doesn't deal with token height particularly well. That's the thing that's coming. I'm going to copy that and I'm just going to paste it and I'm just going to slap it in each of these windows here because I can't be bothered to draw it each time. All I need to do is just make sure I'm covering that and just drag each of those nodes to fill that. And again, you'll find your own way, your own little shortcuts and stuff like that. You know, sometimes people can't not complain. That's not the right word. But we'll point out and kind of go, why are you doing it that way? There's a much quicker way to do it, or there's a mod that can help with that. You know, it's like, yeah, there is. I find it really cathartic building maps. You know, just building these things out. I know a few other people do as well. There's been a few other people who said, yeah, I just love doing it. So it doesn't matter if it takes a little while for me because I enjoy the process. All right, we're not going to get everything done, are we? It's 8 o'clock already, my time, so we're due to finish up, but I do want to get a couple of these doors in before we do, and then we can get this finished next week. So slapping doors in here. Now, of course, we have had the conversation about doors. Drawing walls is fun. Yeah, I find it very therapeutic, Igla. It's just, yeah, I really enjoy doing it. It's a bit weird, but there we go. We talked about the animation doors, which is really, really cool. But these maps, of course, have the images on the thing. So I'm not going to use the animated doors, or otherwise you have a door that swings open out of the way to reveal a door still drawn on the map, which does make an awful lot of sense. And it's one of the reasons why some of the shops and things I would like to, and we've had this conversation before, or rather I've mentioned this before, I'd really like to get better at doing maps. They take a long time. I'm just going to put these doors in, actually. They take a long time to do, but I want to get better at it so that I can create my own maps and not have the doors on, so I can take advantage of that really good feature that is built into Foundry of... that's going to be a solid door, that one. We'll come back to that when we do the room stuff. You know, it's a really good feature, just being able to have those swing doors and stuff like that, but none of the maps are ready for it. They've already drawn the doors on, which is much easier, of course, because you know where everything is, but yeah, it does remove us the ability to use that particular function, which is a bit of a shame. All right, what else do I need to do before we finish up? I don't think we need to do anything. There was a couple of things I wanted to cover. It was updating those icons, which we have done. We didn't put any sounds at all into the red brand hideout, which we probably should put at least some in. We did in the Cragmore cave, the Goblin cave. We put in rushing water and things like that. We put in crackling fires and stuff. We didn't do any of that kind of sound stuff for there, so we might need to go back and do that, because it's a bit weird when you have that inconsistency. It's like, oh yeah, we got the sounds in all of the scenes, except why not this one? It's like, because I forgot. It's a bit poor. It's a bit poor as an excuse. That actually goes all the way down there because they can't cross through that rubble. Just want to make sure I've got pieces complete, because if you miss one wall out of a section, you never think to come back, and you always miss it. I always miss it. Let's be honest, it's about me. I'm the idiot. All right, let's just draw this around here. We can leave all of that rubble and stuff, and come back to there where that curtain is going to be. And again, we can just come across there so that they can see the rubble. They can even climb that bit of rubble, but know that they can't go past it, or rather, they can try and go past it. It just won't work. All right. I need to make sure I connect that up with the door. We need to do regions as well for places like this. For the red brand hideout, we didn't do regions for it because everything is underground. So you're going to use basically darkness for the whole map. We don't need to worry about it being darker indoors than outdoors. Here we'll use a region to make the inside of the castle darker than the outside. So if it's daylight outside, it's going to be dim inside. If it's dark outside, it's going to be, pitch black on the inside of it. And of course, we've got lots of those tiles. So let's have a quick look at those tiles before we end, because, I'm enjoying myself and I'm for any excuse not to actually end it. Right. So there are a whole bunch, a bit like before, where you've got those tables that are wrecked. So down in the kitchen, tables that get destroyed as part of the combat. The entryway that is hidden and revealed. Blimey. Yeah, we've got some broken furniture and broken entryways, the weapon racks and things like that. So we've got lots of those tiles to add on next time that just fill out some of the details. And I do like that about the Forgotten Adventures maps, is they've decided to do that and include those bits. Are the areas behind rubble visible? Well, not at the moment. Do you mean like here, where they can't see behind, they can't see that bit? They can't see past this pile of rubble between these two rooms, which is why I've done that. So no, they won't be able to see that. In the same as they can see the rubble, but they can't actually kind of see past this bit. I mean, what you could do with something like this, you 100% could do something like that. However, this is kind of a curtain that they kind of go through, so I don't really want to do that in this case. In fact, actually, that might work slightly better in this case. And then I can have that curtain across there. Yeah. Use terrain walls for stuff like that. Yeah, oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you absolutely 100% could. So yeah, they can't go, so they can see past it, but can't go past it. Yeah, that makes sense. You absolutely could. Again, it's all about, you know, it's your game, it's your map. How do you want it to work? If I chuck out my dwarf barbarian, and this is what I mean, he can see, they can't go past this wall, but he can see it. He can see this rubble and stuff, but he can still pass up this corridor. Been able to see the images, but he can't see beyond that rubble. If he goes through here again, he can see, because he's seen both sides of it, he knows what that rubble looks like, but again, he can't actually go up that bit of rubble. You just, you know, it's too steep, unless they want to do something like spend ages, oh, make stone meld, or, you know, spells and things like that, in which case you just delete the wall. But yeah, these bits up here, he can see all of these bits of walls from both sides, etc., which is how it should be. So yeah, I'm happy with that from his point of view. Right, I do need to call it there because I've overrun again, because that's what I do. So we finished Red Brand Hideout. Next time, Cragmore Castle's quite big, and especially because I keep talking and stuff. I mean, I reckon Cragmore Castle takes probably about 2 hours if you're just doing it all on your own and whizzing through it. But we will carry on with this next week and hopefully make some real progress on it if I stop yakking and getting lost in the manuals and the books, because I really haven't got my way around some of those things at all. But there we go. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Nice to see some familiar faces joining in. 4x2 Lee, Igla, thank you for being along with it as well. Jason, I'm not sure if you're still around, but thank you for joining us. It's awesome. Yay. Yeah, absolutely. I will see you next week. Have a great week, guys, and I will catch you in the next one, where we will finish this off and chuck some gobbos in it. Take care. I'll see you soon.